This is going to be a quick summary of how to make a Google form. So you're going to start off by opening your Chrome. So I use your Google Chrome, and then you need to make sure you go to My Drive, your Google Drive, and make sure you sign in as your FSW to your FSW account. You can see immediately I signed in and I'm in my FSW account. You can see by over here. So what you're going to do is I'm going to click on the Google Apps part, which is up in the top right-hand corner. And when you drop that menu down, you can see all possible choices. Now, if Google Forms is not showing up for you here, you're going to need to just go to the bottom, find more from Google Workplace, click on Forms, and then drag it up into your commonly used place. So you can see in this little grid here, Google Drive is where I am. These are all the things that I have done in my Google Drive. This is also where you find Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, even YouTube. So we're going to click on the Google Forms, and now it immediately opens up your forms. For you, if you've never made a form, you're going to start a new form, and we're going to click on plus, open a blank form. Okay, so different parts of the form. So the first is the title. When I click on the title, I highlight it, and we'll just call it practice. Practice form. And if you wanted to just give it a little description, learning to use. Okay, so once you have made a practice form, if you notice, if I come up to the left-hand side here and I click, it immediately puts my name into my Google form. So my Google form now has an official name, and then you can also put it into a folder if you wanted to, and if you wanted to store it as something special, you can as well. Okay, so now we need to do is just start creating our form. So let's start off by making it pretty. So we're going to go to the box here on the top right-hand corner. We see our little painter's palette, and we can choose our theme options. So let's start off with choosing an image. And for now, we're just going to go with one of the fun images that are already created for you. And I love butterflies, so let me put a butterfly into mine. Hit insert. So now you can see I have a beautiful butterfly heading. You can change the theme colors if you want along down here, change background colors as well. You can even play with your fonts. Okay, so we won't do any of those for now. Okay, so that's the most important thing. You can also upload your own image, and the image you saw in the practice, the first form I gave you was actually from a picture I took of a flower in my garden. Okay, so now all it is to actually start putting some questions in your form. So this is the title. So the first one here is I'm going to add my first question. So you click on that little 6-dot grid there, and we will put in a first question. So let's just do a question, multiple choice question. How are you today? Make sure you take out the placeholder there. Okay, we will make it multiple choice. So option 1, feeling great, tired, overworked, happy, all of the above. Okay, so you can put whatever you want as your question, and this is a multiple choice question. Now, what do we have with these question choices? Well, number 1, you can make it required, so the person can't continue unless they answer this question. Now, one of the other things I didn't do yet is, okay, well, I need your name, so I want to quickly insert another question, but I want it to be your name, and look how easy you can just drag and drop boxes around. So I always, as a rule, make sure people give me their name. So it has to be a short answer, and I always put name and section. Short answer, make that also required, and now the student is going to be putting their name and section number in. So as you can see, there are different types of choices for questions. you just decide, and your question choice is by clicking on this right hand box here. So I've wanted to add a question, but I want to add it after this one. That will be where I add my next question, and this is where you get to play what type of question you want to do. Check boxes, drop down, fire upload, linear scale, multiple choice group, and some of those I already shared with you in your practice. You can also put a date and time stamp on it. So those are things you can play with. One of the things that I really like is the insert image. Let me just go back. So insert an image. I'm going to do a multiple choice question, but I first want to put a question in there. So maybe it's something that I show in my class and I want them to look at a picture in order to label it. You can just insert an image from a file that you already have, or you can even do a Google search for an image and say we want to find the image of cells. Okay, so if I just put cells, all of a sudden there is my pictures from Google. Hit insert and you have pictures of cells straight away into your form. You don't even have to go anywhere for it. And now you could ask them some questions related to the cells. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time showing you that because you can just play with that. So what do we do once we have a form? Well, we need to first check what it looks like. So next to my palette is my preview. So I can preview what the form would look like. And here you can see what the students will see or whoever you share it with. And you can actually even just practice answering it. So answer it. How are you feeling today? I'm very happy to be making this and related to cells. And I'm just going to write something here just for fun. I love cells. Obviously, I'm a mother. And then I submit it. And that's what the students see. So back at your end, now if we go back to that form that you had created, you'll notice it's now come up with a response. Okay, so that's your preview, making sure that it shows the way you end. And obviously there was this question in there that I didn't want, so I need to go back and I need to delete that. So you'll notice if you have a question you don't want, you'll just hit the delete box. Okay, last thing we need to do is how do I, what are settings on my form? So here's the settings. One of the things you really need to make sure you do is always just go back and remove this restrict users to Southwest Florida State College, because sometimes when you're quickly sharing these with your students, they're not logged in and then it's a mess. So I always take that off. And then you can also decide whether you want some of these other options available for you. In a presentation, do you want to link to another response? So these are all things you can do. Or you can even put a little change message here. Thank you for taking your time. Okay, this is also where you could turn it into a quiz. And that's a whole, another line of using these forms. If you wanted to make a quiz, you can also make it a quiz, and then when you're setting up your questions, you assign point values to them. So I'm not going to worry about that now. You can play with that once you know how to do this. Okay, last thing we need to look is, well, how do I share my form? That is with the send button. And the easiest way I do use it all the time is just by using the link. And with the link, you get this lovely generated code that's unique for your form. Always shorten the URL, and then you would copy that. And then that is what I would be dropping into the chat box when I was doing it in the Zoom room, or that's the link that I would be emailing out to my students before I even met them, when I asked them to how they're doing, giving them information about the class before it's even started. So that's a very easy way to share it. Okay, finally, what do we do with responses? So this is where once you have your responses, there's those options that I did show you a little bit in the lecture. So there's my responses. This is where I can create a spreadsheet with them. This is where I can stop collecting responses. And then this option here is to download your responses into a CSV file, or select response destination. You can create a new spreadsheet, and over the time always collect those answers, or you can create a new spreadsheet, or you can select an existing spreadsheet and then you would go off and create it. So all just very easy things to do to manage what happens with your forms, and I did give you an example of that. So finally, these last three dots here, there's always more because Google always gives you more. You can make a copy, you can move it to the trash, you can get a pre-filled link, you can print it, you can add collaborators, etc., etc. So lots of fun things you can do with your Google form. So I'm going to just show you how I want to delete my response. Delete all response. Always gives you a choice, and now we no longer have any response.